The unseen shadow. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, the calm of an ordinary night was shattered by the inexplicable. The security camera footage appeared routine, a slow, unremarkable capture of a quiet street under the gentle glow of street lamps. Yet beneath that facade of normalcy, something was amiss. The night had woven a hidden narrative, one that would soon pull its way into the light. Detective Lydia Mercer sat alone in her modest office at the precinct, reviewing the latest batch of security footage submitted by a distressed resident. The case was an anomaly, a series of brief, mundane recordings of a neighborhood known for its tranquility. Yet, as Lydia played back the clip again, a subtle irregularity caught her eye. There, among the familiar silhouettes of parked cars and empty sidewalks, flickered a dark figure, a presence so understated that it might easily be overlooked by an untrained gaze. Lydia leaned forward, her heart thumping as she rewatched the segment frame by frame. The figure appeared at first as nothing more than a shadow merging with the inky darkness of a nearby alley. But as the footage continued, the shape moved with an unnatural hesitation, almost as if it were testing the boundaries of invisibility. Its motion was deliberate, calculated, an intentional step into the realm of suspicion. With every passing second, the silent figure grew bolder, its presence both enigmatic and unsettling. Determined to uncover the truth, Lydia cross-referenced the footage with other neighborhood records. There were no previous incidents of violence or unexplained happenings in that quiet cul-de-sac. The residents, known for their tight-knit community, had never reported any disturbances. The absence of a history made the appearance of the dark figure even more perplexing. It was as though the figure was a phantom, materializing only to haunt the moment before vanishing into the night. The detective recalled an old adage her grandfather used to share. In the darkest corners of our reality, even the faintest light can reveal hidden truths. The idea resonated with Lydia now more than ever. She began to suspect that the figure was not just a random interloper but a sign of something deeper. A silent messenger hinting at impending calamity, or perhaps a long-concealed secret waiting to be unearthed. Every detail in the footage, every shadow and every movement, began to merge into a larger picture of mystery and foreboding. Determined to trace the origins of this eerie presence, Lydia delved into the neighborhood's past. She spent hours poring over old records, speaking with longtime residents, and seeking out subtle clues that might point to a dormant criminal element or an overlooked victim of a past injustice. Every conversation added layers to her understanding, and slowly, a narrative began to form. A story of a community unknowingly teetering on the brink of a truth that had been obscured by time. As the night deepened, Lydia's mind raced with possibilities. Was the dark figure a remnant of a sinister past, perhaps linked to an unresolved crime? Or was it a deliberate distraction, a ruse meant to conceal a more calculated act of malice? The ambiguity was maddening, and yet it propelled her forward with a determined sense of duty. The evidence, as scant as it was, whispered of hidden connections, a missing puzzle piece in a crime that had never been fully solved. Outside, the wind began to pick up, rattling the window panes of the precinct and echoing the turbulent thoughts in Lydia's head. She realized that the true story was not merely about an unidentifiable shadow. It was about the subtle interplay of fate and circumstance that could transform an ordinary night into a prelude to tragedy. In that realization, she found a haunting parallel to the timeless tales of old, a reminder that even in the modern world, ancient echoes of destiny and morality persist. The security footage, in its quiet rebellion against normalcy, had sparked a journey of introspection and investigation. Lydia knew that she was standing at the threshold of a revelation that could forever change her understanding of the neighborhood she had vowed to protect. Every minute detail mattered, and every frame of that enigmatic clip held the promise of unveiling a story of justice, retribution, or perhaps redemption. With her resolve hardening, Lydia set out to gather more evidence. She scheduled interviews with neighbors, scoured local archives for any reference to mysterious occurrences, and even reached out to experts in digital forensics. The task was daunting, yet she embraced it with the quiet determination of someone who knew that the truth, however buried, must eventually emerge. The dark figure, elusive as it was, had become a symbol of the hidden layers of reality, a call to look deeper into the fabric of the ordinary. In the silent hum of her office, as the clock ticked away the seconds of an unfolding mystery, Lydia Mercer realized that this was more than a case. It was a call to confront the shadows lurking in the spaces between light and dark, a challenge to unearth the stories that lay hidden in plain sight. And so, with the weight of responsibility pressing upon her, she prepared to follow the trail of the dark figure, wherever it might lead. The trail of shadows. Lydia's resolve propelled her into the night, as she left the safety of her office to trace the origins of the dark figure. The echo of her footsteps in the empty corridor mirrored the echo of questions that relentlessly circled her mind. Every detail of the security footage haunted her, each frame a whisper from an unseen past. With the case file clutched tightly under her arm, she ventured into the neighborhood, determined to unearth any clue that might connect the spectral presence to a hidden truth. Her first stop was the modest home of Mr. Donovan, a longtime resident known for his encyclopedic recollection of the community's history. Donovan's living room, filled with dusty photographs and yellowed newspaper clippings, served as a silent archive of memories. As Lydia explained her investigation, Donovan's eyes narrowed in recollection. "I remember whispers, stories of a shadow long ago," he murmured, hesitating as if afraid the mere words might invoke its presence. He recounted a series of unexplained occurrences from decades past, strange noises, fleeting figures, and a sense of foreboding that had once gripped the neighborhood. His words suggested that the dark figure was not a recent anomaly, but a recurring omen, a specter that had haunted the community's collective memory. Lydia scribbled notes feverishly, the pieces of the puzzle beginning to form a murky image of unresolved tragedies and hidden histories. Donovan mentioned an abandoned building on the outskirts of town, a once grand estate now reduced to crumbling ruins. Local lore had long associated the estate with mysterious events, and some whispered that the dark figure was connected to the misfortunes that befell its inhabitants. The detective felt a shiver down her spine. The possibility that the shadow might be tethered to a long-forgotten crime lent the investigation a deeper, more poignant edge. Determined to follow this lead, Lydia drove to the estate. The building loomed against the twilight sky, its broken windows and decaying facade evoking an eerie sense of neglect. The air around the structure was heavy with memories, and as she approached, Lydia felt as if time itself had stilled. Wandering cautiously through the overgrown garden, she discovered remnants of a life once vibrant. A faded family portrait, a rusted bicycle, scattered papers that hinted at a chaotic history. Among these relics, one battered notebook caught her attention. Its pages, yellowed with age, contained cryptic entries and fragmented accounts of despair, betrayal, and lost hope. Each word seemed to echo the sorrow of lives that had been overshadowed by tragedy. Lydia carefully photographed the notebook and its surroundings, aware that every detail might unlock another layer of the mystery. The estate, once a symbol of affluence and unity, now stood as a testament to forgotten misdeeds and unresolved conflicts. The dark figure on the footage began to assume a more defined shape in her mind, a manifestation of the community's unhealed wounds, perhaps even a cry for justice from the past. The detective felt an inexplicable kinship with the forlorn remnants scattered around the estate, as if the physical decay mirrored the moral decay that had permeated the neighborhood's history. Back in her car, Lydia pondered the implications of her discoveries. If the dark figure was indeed linked to the estate's tragic past, then its sudden reappearance on modern security footage could not be a mere coincidence. The specter might have been waiting for the right moment to reemerge, a moment when the old wounds had festered long enough to demand attention. As the rain began to fall softly, blurring the lines between past and present, Lydia's mind raced through possibilities. Was the figure a ghost of remorse, a remnant of a family's agony? Or was it a deliberate warning from someone who had witnessed or even perpetrated the crime, now compelled by guilt or revenge? The investigation took on a new urgency as Lydia returned to the precinct with her evidence. Each clue, whether the murmured recollections of a veteran resident or the cryptic notebook from the estate, wove together a tapestry of interconnected lives and lingering secrets. Every whispered story hinted at a network of relationships that spanned generations. A family legacy stained by betrayal, secrets concealed behind carefully crafted facades, and justice deferred for too long. In the flickering fluorescent light of her desk lamp, Lydia meticulously examined the notebook's entries. References to the Dark Watcher and the inevitable reckoning surfaced repeatedly, evoking the unmistakable presence of an omnipresent force that demanded accountability. The language was poetic yet laced with raw despair, a literary echo of the timeless struggle between darkness and light. It was as if the notebook itself was a confession, a chronicle of despair from someone who had witnessed the unfolding of a crime that had altered the course of lives. Haunted by the overlapping echoes of the past and present, Lydia sensed that the investigation was not just about uncovering a criminal act. It was about confronting the moral failures of a community that had long turned a blind eye to its own hidden scars. The dark figure, whether a literal intruder or a metaphor for deep-seated injustices, embodied the unresolved grief and the unspoken calls for redemption. With each piece of evidence, the path forward grew more complex, yet Lydia felt resolute. She was not merely chasing a shadow. She was seeking the truth that lay beneath layers of silence and neglect. As the night deepened further, Lydia prepared to dive even deeper into the labyrinth of forgotten memories and half-truths. Every question she answered gave rise to new enigmas, and every step into the unknown beckoned her closer to a long-hidden confrontation. The dark figure was no longer an abstract mystery. It was a symbol, a harbinger of the consequences of our collective inaction, and a reminder that justice, no matter how delayed, demands to be seen. The unveiling of truth. As dawn broke over the city, the remnants of darkness that had haunted the investigation began to dissolve into the light. Detective Lydia Mercer, having pieced together decades of buried secrets and whispered legends, now faced the culmination of her relentless pursuit. The evidence from Mr. Donovan's recollections, the decaying estate, and the cryptic notebook had led her to a final confrontation with the ghostly legacy of a community marred by sorrow and injustice. In the early hours, Lydia returned to the estate, determined to revisit every detail. The rain had ceased, leaving behind glistening droplets that clung to the ruins like fragile reminders of past grief. The notebook's entries had haunted her dreams, their melancholic language urging her to unearth the truth at any cost. Guided by both intuition and duty, she retraced the steps she had taken the previous night, piecing together the final fragments of a story that transcended time. The estate, now bathed in the soft glow of morning, revealed subtle signs of a recent disturbance. A broken piece of glass near the main door, a set of footprints barely visible in the mud, and a lingering scent of something acrid that spoke of secrets hidden too long. Lydia's heart pounded as she realized that someone else had been here, someone who had followed the same trail of shadows. The realization propelled her deeper into the building, where a long-forgotten study offered the last clue. On the desk lay an envelope, sealed and bearing a familiar emblem, the crest of the once powerful family that had once resided here. With trembling fingers, she broke the seal and unfolded a letter that detailed the events of a night decades ago. It told of betrayal, a crime of passion fueled by greed and desperation, and a cover-up that had been maintained by those with power. The letter's author revealed themselves as the secret keeper, one who had borne witness to the dark act and had dedicated their life to ensuring that the truth was never entirely forgotten. As Lydia absorbed the contents of the letter, the narrative coalesced into a single, piercing truth. The dark figure seen on the security footage was not a mere specter or an unintentional mischief, but the manifestation of a promise that the sins of the past would one day be exposed. The letter concluded with a chilling declaration. When the shadow awakens, the reckoning will begin. It was this awakening, now captured in modern-day surveillance, that signified that the time for hidden truths had ended. The weight of that legacy pressed upon Lydia, fueling her resolve to bring the story into the light. Armed with this final piece of evidence, Lydia raced back to the precinct. The urgency in her step was mirrored by the escalating tension in her mind. She convened a meeting with her team, laying out the intricate connections between the old crimes and the present-day anomaly. The investigation, once a fragmented tapestry of hints and half-remembered legends, now took shape as a damning indictment of a long-standing cover-up. Witnesses who had once been too fearful to speak were now ready to step forward, emboldened by the promise of justice. The dark figure on the footage had become a symbol of accountability, a reminder that even the most concealed wrongs could not escape the relentless pursuit of truth. In a press conference later that day, Lydia addressed the community, revealing the story behind the mysterious footage and the decades-old secret it had unearthed. Her voice, steady yet imbued with emotion, carried the weight of both tragedy and hope. "We stand today at a crossroads," she declared, "where the past and present converge, demanding that we confront our history with honesty and courage." Her words resonated deeply, igniting a sense of collective responsibility among the residents. The community, long divided by silence and fear, began to rally around the cause of truth, determined to mend the fractures of a legacy built on injustice. The ensuing investigation brought many surprising revelations. Those who had once been complicit in the cover-up found themselves exposed to scrutiny, their power eroded by the undeniable evidence that Lydia had meticulously gathered. In the midst of it all, the dark figure, whether literal or symbolic, served as a constant reminder of the profound consequences of neglect and inaction. Lydia's breakthrough became a turning point not just for the case, but for the entire community, ushering in a period of reflection and, ultimately, healing. Yet, even as justice began to take shape, Lydia knew that the journey was far from over. The case had unveiled not only the depths of human fallibility, but also the resilience of the human spirit. The dark figure's emergence was a call to remember that every act, every moment of silence, contributes to the tapestry of our shared history. It was a moral reckoning, urging society to remain vigilant in the face of injustice and to embrace the transformative power of truth. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows that slowly retreated, Lydia felt a quiet satisfaction. In the relentless pursuit of a hidden truth, she had not only solved a case, but had also kindled a spark of reform that promised to reshape the community's future. In the final moments of that day, as Lydia reviewed the now complete narrative, she reflected on the nature of justice. It was neither swift nor uncomplicated, but a journey that demanded perseverance, empathy, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable realities. The dark figure had been a catalyst, a spectral reminder that even in a world filled with light, shadows persist. And it is only by embracing both that we can hope to create a future where truth prevails over silence and justice long delayed, is finally delivered. If you found this story incredible, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with others. Your support helps us bring more captivating true crime narratives and inspiring stories to life.